like them and write a romance novel, which was definitely just not me at all.
Right.
And I learned that really quickly. Learned that really quickly.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The story and the world that I write now came at a time when I was tired of trying to do the romance novels. I had tried to do a superhero story because I was seeing a lot of that at the time. And I remember sitting at my computer and typing up the first thing that just came to my mind. I did 2 chapters. They had nothing to do with each other. I had no clue who the characters were. It was just like, I just need to get something different, something just straight from me that wasn't biased on anything else. And I did those 2 chapters, and they sat on the shelf for a couple of years. And when I finally went back to them, because I was like, I need something new, I need something fresh, I need something that's just me. I went back to it, and from those 2 chapters comes everything that I do today.
Wow. You see, he was working the whole time, right? That's crazy. That's great. I love that. I just got chills. I have so much I want to ask you. We don't have a lot of time, but I want to know.
All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to WMAP Radio. I'm your host, Mike Biddleman. Before I get to my fantastic guest, I'm going to remind you that Simply Amazing, the book, is coming out October 27th. Now, guys, we're giving away the first chapter for free. All you have to do is go to simplyamazingbook.com, enter your email, and you will receive the first chapter in your email for free. This first chapter is all about Mr. Casey Armstrong himself, the man, the myth, the legend. Everything you want to know about him, it's all in that first chapter. So go to simplyamazingbook.com, put your email in the space, get the first chapter, and then buy the book on October 27th. All right, guys, I am so excited for this interview we got going on. I got Miss Jessica Bunch, CEO of OneWorld Stories. Jessica, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so excited for this. When Casey told me I could do this interview with you, he was telling me about your company yesterday, about what you guys do, and it's just so amazing, everything that you got going on. Tell me a little about your company, yourself, and let's get this thing started.
Yeah, most definitely. So OneWorld Stories is the company's name, and we exist to give students a chance to experience and connect with other cultures without even leaving the classroom. So 2 different classrooms from 2 different cultures are joined together as a team to create one fictional story, and it comes out to be a children's book. And our goal is to enable students to recognize their similarities, respect their differences, and never forget their experience. And our mission is to break down these cultural barriers by creating impactful and personal connections between students from different cultures. And we not only want to encourage excitement from what one can learn from different cultures around the world, but we also want to instill purpose in every student that we work with to be forever reminded that they can accomplish whatever they want, either individually or together.
Wow. That's fantastic. Just bringing the 2 different cultures together so everyone can learn about everybody. Make it, it's all about my personal philosophy is ELE. Everybody love everybody. I wish I could take credit for that statement, but I cannot. I stole it from a movie. But still, it's something great to, live your life about. Where'd you come up with this idea in the first place? Did it hit you one night? You woke up from a dream and oh my God, I got it, Eureka. How'd this happen?
Well, I have to first give credit to my mom because she started traveling. My brother and I was 8, my brother was 10, and she would take us down to, we'd stay for about 2 weeks at an orphanage in Mexico, and we would literally live how they lived, and it was the most incredible experience ever, just something that, I wish every kid could experience because you really appreciate what you have, and then you don't see someone's race. You don't see someone for living in a different country. At that age, I saw people for people, and so to be able to give children the opportunity to be exposed to these different cultures, I think is really impactful. But anyway, so I was in college, and I was like, what do I want to do with my life? And I thought I wanted to...
Still to this day, probably.
So true. That is so true. But we all have a purpose, and that's the cool thing. Just figuring it out is the journey. But I was in college, and I remember forever I wanted to be a vet because I love animals. But when I was young, I found out that blood needles I didn't do well with. I ended up on the floor.
Problem, you know?
It was a little bit, I couldn't get past that. So I was like, all right, well, this is not what my purpose is. And I just, I love traveling, and my mom took me to just multiple countries after Mexico. We went to Peru, Honduras, India, Holland, and the list goes on. And so I was like, okay, well, I love to travel, and I love people. Mm-hmm. So I remember I was driving in my car, and I actually heard a band Need to Breathe song, and it's called Let Us Love. And I was just like, the idea popped in my head. I was like, whoa, what if I can connect people somehow from across the country and do it at an age when I got to do it, and teach people how to love other people and appreciate other people for their different cultures.
When we're that young, molding their minds, it's I don't even know how to say how amazing this is, because you're literally so innocent at that age that all you do is love everybody else. You don't learn hate or anything like that until you grow up a little more.
Exactly. You're kind of still in that mindset. Well, and at that age, you're actually still developing your morals. Mm-hmm. And so, really, any impactful experience at that age, especially positive ones and ones that you're really going to remember, that really has an effect on your morals.
It really is, and So what are some of the greatest experience you have? What's the let's say weirdest, but so you match up from America to someone in India or China or tell me some of these matchups that you've made so far.
So are you speaking on my personal matchups or matchups with the schools I worked with?
The schools.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the coolest thing. So it was actually so I'll backtrack a little bit. So OneWorld Stories actually came from my senior thesis in college. I developed, I studied intercultural competence, and I tested a few methods on how it can be most effectively taught in the classroom. Uh-huh. And so anyways, once my method was fully developed and it was tested successfully, I completely blown away, so excited. But the coolest thing I will say is it was a classroom I worked in Mississippi in Oxford, and a little girl walked up to me, and it was after. So what I did, I tested two different theories back to back: the OneWorld Stories theory, and then just regular standardized education based off the book. And it was after the OneWorld Stories theory, and the teacher actually, she was like, "Parents keep blowing up my email. The children won't stop talking about Africa."
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was like, I know, in my head I was like, yes. It worked, and it was so cute because two of the students actually, so they had talked about so much, their family members, one of them was her grandmother, and the other little boy, I think he said was his dad. But anyways, they actually brought in foreign objects. So one of them was actually money from Kenya, and the other one actually had a notebook, kind of like a standardized notebook, but you could actually find in Africa. And they were from family members who had actually traveled. And so when they started talking about how they learned about Africa and this personal connection, and they got to write a book with kids in Africa, and their parents were like, well, little did you know that your family member has actually been there. And then, and then it just starts the conversation. It starts that fire and that spark, and that's the whole, the whole snowball effect that needs to start rolling for people to care.
Wow. That really is great. So how does it actually work? So you started, you write half a story with a class, in America, and then do you travel to whatever country you're going to pair them up with, or how does it actually work?
Yeah, so definitely. So I do travel and I work. You could call me like the messenger. And so I actually go into both classrooms and I travel back and forth. So one classroom starts the story, and it's the classroom that's overseas. So right now I've just been working in the United States and then overseas. I'd like to eventually one day, connect other countries besides the United States. But so one classroom starts the story, and then the other classroom adds onto the story, and the story is sent back to where it began to be finished. So it bounces back and forth, 1, 2, 3 times. And then the story is published, and all the proceeds from the sales of the book go back to the student schools, which is a really cool you're giving a child or a student a purpose behind. It's like, not only am I learning about somebody else and their culture and having that special connection, but I'm actually, creating funds for my school. That's what I did. So you're really instilling a purpose in each student.
Holy smokes. I don't know what to say. I'm blown away. That's a great
Oh.
idea. And, making children, let's get a little deeper this. Have you, how do the students personally met each other or anything like that? Or do they talk through emails or try to get ideas from each other? Or how does that work?
So just because of, what I like to do, I kind of like to put that in the hands of the schools. And so I kind of seed the connection, and they can take it and run with it if they so choose. So with this past school I've worked with in Charlotte, they have actually adopted the school they work with as a sister school. So now they can Skype whenever they want. They can actually connect with each other. They actually hold fundraisers for the school in India throughout the year now, and it's truly incredible to watch. But they actually communicate kind of through me, and that's just for safety precautions, in all honesty. And then I give them the relationship, and they can do whatever they want with it. So, and then, they see each other's pictures, they learn each other's names, and it's kind of like a pen pal, but instead of sending letters to the mail, it's kind of like sent through me, you could say. And the really cool thing is we're actually having a book signing coming up this Saturday in Charlotte, North Carolina, at Parkwood Books, and all the students... Oh, sorry. From Parkwood Books. Oh, I lost it. I think I couldn't hear you.
Right, where's the book signing this Saturday?
Oh, sorry. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina, at Parkwood Books, and it's from 11 to 2. But we're actually having the students from Albemarle Road Middle School, which is the school we work with here in Charlotte. They'll be coming, and they're actually going to be signing books, which is so cool. So you can come buy a book. And then we're also, so the students... Well, OneWorld Stories, we donate 2 books to every school we work with, one for the classroom and one for the library. One day we hope to, be able to donate each student their own book, but we're fortunately still a startup, so we're not able to do that. So, One day, that is the goal. Yes. And but we see this as an opportunity to get others involved in this journey and the process. So that's when we were blessed with a sponsor who actually came in and bought all the books for the students in Charlotte. And so now we have 48 students in India who still need books of their own. So we've got pictures of all the students, and we're going to have them on a poster board so people can actually come in and take the picture off the poster and keep it in their wallet print, so they can keep it in their wallet, and they can actually send a book to them and write them a letter and take a picture of themselves and have that personal connection too. So we're kind of bringing in the community to be a part of it.
That's fantastic. Guys, if you're just tuning in, this is WMAP Radio. I'm your host, Mike Biddleman. With me is Jessica Bunch, CEO of OneWorld Stories, connecting kids with kids, I guess, all over the world. You can say something like that, right?
Yes, certainly.
So, all right, so a couple things. How can people get in touch with you if they want to talk to you? And then also for all the information on OneWorld Stories, how do they get in touch with the company?
Yes, so you can go to the website, www.oneworldstories.com. And if you scroll down to the bottom of the home page, you can actually see where you can message us and contact us. Or you can directly email us at contact@oneworldstories.com.
Now, big question: how do you choose what classes or what state? Do you go state to state, or you mostly stay in North Carolina right now, or how do you become how do you be chosen to be a school that does the program?
So it's basically by word of mouth, and we target students around 9 to 11 because that's when this methodology is really proven to have the most effect. Okay. But because we do want every student eventually to have part in this, we have ventured to a little younger ages and a little older ages, and it's actually been proven just as effective. But yeah, just word of mouth really right now. We are a startup is how we are connecting with our schools, and we're slowly building a list. So we actually have a waiting list right now.
But fancy.
yeah,
There you go.
So that's really exciting. And but of course we want it to grow because we want to give everybody the opportunity because we take about a full semester to work with the school.
Mm-hmm. So now that's the schools from over here. How do you do the schools overseas in Africa or India or wherever you choose to go? How do you get in contact with them?
Yeah, so the very first school, actually, it was an organization here in Charlotte called Samaritan's Feet, and this is so cool how this happens. And I am a believer, and I think God totally has His hand in this because how things have lined up is just, it's crazy. So, anyways, very first school that I worked with, I've worked with several schools testing methodology, but with the first school that actually we got to publish the book, it was in Uganda, Bulenga, Uganda. And I had a school in Charlotte, and I was hoping, I was like, oh gosh, praying for another school in Africa. And so I'd actually chosen to come home I'm from Alabama and came home for 4th of July. And I was probably the youngest one at the gathering by many years. But just randomly, my mom, she was at church and she met a woman who had a pastor and he owned his own school, staying with her, and she was like, well, why don't y'all come over? Because my mom, she invites everybody to everything. She's like, why don't y'all come over to 4th of July and come watch the fireworks with us? So I had no idea this was happening. And so, lo and behold, walks to the door someone from Uganda who owns a school. And so that's how that connection happened. And I was like, yeah, so that was so cool.
Talk about fate right there.
Yeah. So that was incredible. And then in talking to him about, and he was like, wow, we were looking for some kind of international connection. And I was like, well, this works perfect.
Wow, small world. It really is. I feel like, whatever you do, somehow it ends up finding you in one way or the other,
Exactly.
Wow, that really is. That's something else. Oh, Jessica, this is such a great story. And, how long has the company been around for?
So let's see, my thesis it's been about 2 years, going on 2 years now, if you want to count when my thesis came out.
Yeah, so how many books have you actually, have you written so far?
So we have two. We have the Lion Guardian, and then we have the Malicious Prince, and both are available on Amazon.
So guys, go out there, buy these books. We need to fund this company. They do good stuff, all right? Buy the books.
And all the proceeds do go back to the school, too, so that's huge. There you go.
Exactly. It's called The Lion Guardian and The Malicious Prince. Go to Amazon. Get them, people, all right? You have homework over the weekends, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, we will be checking.
Exactly. So tell me, what are some of the challenges you face doing this right now?
So I will say I'm an English major and I minored in education, and I have no business educational background. That's what I've struggled with, but I've also found out that today we're blessed with so many resources to really do, what our passions are, whatever we want to do in this world. And so the business world is a stepping stone for me, and it's definitely I'm learning, and it's been a learning curve, but I've loved the challenge, and I grow every time I learn something new. But definitely, and I think, in all honesty, I've always been the person to be in the background and kind of behind the scenes, and so now, in all honesty, and I love talking to people, but talking to a group of people, or even I get nervous about the interview, but so. Being kind of stepping out of my comfort zone for sure in a many departments, but it's a whole growing experience.
If you're not scared of it, you're not doing the right thing. That's how I try to deal with life. If it doesn't scare you a little bit, then you're doing something wrong. You can't always go around being challenged and all that stuff.
Exactly. We're not supposed to be too comfortable.
Exactly. When you get comfortable, you get complacent, you get lazy, and you get sloppy. So always try to do something scary every now and then, just to keep you on edge a little bit, It builds your character, builds you up as a person, makes you feel good about yourself when you overaccomplish something you were scared of. It does a lot of things for you.
Most definitely. That's what. So I'm actually terrified of heights, and and I've actually, I've conquered that, and so it's like, wow, okay, now you can conquer anything when you conquer your fears. So I highly recommend anybody who's scared of heights go skydiving because it's awesome.
I went skydiving. I'm not gonna lie, I was very scared doing it, but hey, once you're out of that plane, you're out there. You're out there.
It's like, it's happening.
Exactly. You don't have a choice but to enjoy it, and it's amazing. So I would just recommend it for anybody. Anyone you have nothing to do on a Sunday or Saturday, find your local skydiving place, go for it. It's not that cheap, but it's not that expensive, but it's definitely something worth doing.
So worth it. It is.
I'll tell you what, that's really great, Jessica. So once again, we're with Jessica Bunch, CEO of OneWorld Stories. Guys, go on Amazon, buy her books. Buy the books, not her books, the books that children wrote themselves. Children's Overhears did they do the beginning of the book in America, or they did the end of the book?
So the beginning of the book starts, so actually the middle of the book is written in the United States. So the beginning of the book starts in a foreign country. Okay. It bounces back to the United States, and then it bounces back to the foreign country to actually be finished, and then it bounces back to the United States. So I guess that's 4 times. And the students in the United States get to actually title the book. So they kind of all have an even process. And the cool thing about it is, so our methodology is based from storytelling. And storytelling is a huge part of oral literature. And if you go back to folk tales, if you look at folk tales from different cultures, each folk tale is actually, it's almost like catered to the culture. And it's because our imaginations are a direct reflection of our culture, which is so cool. And so anyways, when the students create the stories, they actually play the popcorn game, and they each take a turn. And so, for example, I would say, once upon a time, Joe had a dog, and then you would add on to that, and then someone else would add on, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And so each of them are actually having a chance to add on to it and work together as a team. But then, that's their cultural perspective. And it's really cool. So, for example, in The Malicious Prince, that's our second book, if you see at the end of the story, they mention a flower. And it's this flower that blooms every 12 years. And that actually was written by our students in India. Cool thing is, it's a real flower in India. And I'm not going to try to pronounce the name because I cannot pronounce it. But it's like got M's and J's in it, and
all right.
I just butcher it. But if you go look up South Indian flower blooms every 12 years, it'll pop up. It's just so cool how that happens. So, and like for example, this one of the first schools I ever worked with while I was developing my thesis was a school in Kenya, and they actually, unfortunately, it never got to be published because we were still testing the methodology, yes. But one of my favorite stories still. And they started the story out, and they these students lived in the slums. It's actually the second largest slum. It's located in Kenya. And they started the story out, they named the animals, and they were safari animals. But they said the animals shared everything, like their clothes, their shelter, but it was the reality of what their life was living, because in the slums they did share clothes, they did share shelter. It's just so cool to see, the imagination actually project what, lifestyles people are living.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I just looked up the flower. It is beautiful. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce it.
Would you like to try to pronounce it?
I am not going to do that one. Kurinji flower?
Yeah.
Something like that. It's close enough. But yes, it's a great purple flower. But anyhow, it's so weird. Like I said, we're a product of our environments, and if we only know one thing, like sharing everything, that's how you're going to portray books and stories and everything else like that.
Mm-hmm. We're
a little more well off here in the Americas. So, like you said, we talk about dogs and other stuff. So that's great. I was literally going to ask you how do you come up with the stories? Do you start them off on get the ball rolling and the kids add to them? And
yeah, well, so cool. The first couple of stories that we did, I like to look back at them, and because when you're testing things, you kind of, I know everybody has different methods and different ways, but I generally wanted to see how far kids would go with their imagination. So I didn't stop them. I just let it roam. And so we had one of the first stories once again, wasn't published. We had the kids had these animals going to Zaxby's, and they were wearing, these are the students in the United States, and they were wearing Air Jordans, and they were drinking Coca-Cola. But the funny thing is, these kids in the United States were naming all these brands, which is, a huge part of our culture is brands. And usually I find that in students in the United States, they usually kind of take on a hero, heroine, said that wrong, part. So kind of like a evil good.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly, which is also really cool. But yeah, so we kind of and the teacher helps in the classroom. So we're kind of the guiders, but we let the kids run with their imagination. But of course, we keep them on. Some of them throw out some pretty interesting things, but
there's always that one kid out there that'll just
like, I want to throw a dinosaur in there. It's like,
exactly.
I think that's a great idea, but I don't know if that fits.
Does it really fit in this story? We'll put a pin in it for later,
Yeah, that's great for next story.
But
but anyways.
Yes. So what are the kids overseas to the field? We have the more good versus evil, overall themes of the story. What do they tend to focus on?
Yeah, so they usually tend to focus on their environment and their way of life. And so this is also interesting. We actually test our methodology with high schoolers. And this was I was again in Uganda, but I was in Makano, Uganda, so it's a different part. And these students were all sponsored students of an organization I used to be part of in college. And anyways, these students, it was actually really sad because these students came from a lot of very sad backgrounds, very just terrible stories. A lot of them didn't have parents. A lot of them were one household child, the only child in their family. And so anyways, their story started out with it was a father and a son, and they had a business, and then one day the son died, and then the business burnt down, and then the father got, I think it was malaria. It was just like one thing after another, but if you look on their lives, that's what has happened to most of them.
Wow.
So it's just like, yeah.
Like, you just know bad news after bad news after bad news, it's kind of hard to get out of that routine of, thinking like that and not seeing a bigger picture out there, But then someone comes in there, tries to, helping them out, trying to see bigger pictures, and, what you're really doing, I can't say it really is amazing. It definitely fits our, world's most amazing people, MO for our radio station. So definitely a big thank you to what you're doing out there.
Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm happy to do it.
So once again, with Jessica Bunch, OneWorld Stories. Find them oneworldstories.com or on Instagram at one, spell out one, O-N-E, World Stories, S-T-O-R-I-E-S. Once again, it was great talking to you. We got 2 minutes left. What else you got?
Oh, wow, that went so fast.
I know, right?
Wow.
Just tell me more about the, the thrill. So the students get to stay in touch with each other? You said one school does, right? They Skype with you?
Yeah.
Still?
So the Albemarle Road Middle School, which is another really cool thing. So this is also why I really like God's hand is in it. Sorry, I'm kind of skipping, but I will answer your question. So my very sweet boyfriend, Connor Brown, he actually was working at a running store, and the vice principal actually came in to get fitted for running shoes. And he started talking about, his school, and then Connor started talking about OneWorld Stories, and then all of a sudden, he was like, well, we're actually looking for an international program. And it's like, boom, that happened, that connection. And it was incredible. And I'm so thankful for it. But the cool thing is like this school, Albemarle Road Middle School, is so incredible. They have so many international students there. They have such a support system for all their students, and most of them, they speak English as a second language. It was just like the perfect group of kids to work with. It's so cool. And of course, I forgot your question.
That's what I would say. Do the kids still stay in touch with the schools that they work with?
Yes. Yeah, so the Albertville Middle School, who I, currently will be doing the book signing on Saturday.
Yes.
They actually, one really cool thing is that the principal of the school actually traveled to the United States and got to meet the group of kids who worked with. So that was really cool. And her daughter came too, and she did a traditional Indian dance, and we had a whole presentation. And it was like, they were like, wow, okay, this is really cool. This is a real thing. And that was incredible. But yeah, they have kept in touch. I know that the IB coordinator, Miss Kim Lynch, she keeps in touch with Denisa, the principal, and they plan fundraisers, and it's kind of like given to them the connection and the relationship, which is so cool.
No, that's great. Thank you so much once again for being on the show with us. It's Jessica.
Thank you for having me.
OneWorld Stories, guys. Go to Amazon.com, buy The Lion Guardian and the Malicious Prince. Excuse me for butchering that. Well, that's a little tricky.
No worries.
So
it's kind of a hard word.
Lion Guardian. Guys, buy them on Amazon. Check Jessica out and her company, OneWorld Stories, on Instagram, oneworldstories.com. Jessica, I can't thank you enough for doing what you do and, making the world a better place.
Well, thank you for talking to me and having me on the show.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Jessica, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
Okay, sounds good.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
All right, guys, don't forget, Casey Armstrong's book, Simply Amazing, is coming out October 27th. But you have an opportunity to get the first chapter for free. Go to simplyamazingbook.com, put your email in there, and we will email you the first chapter right away for free, guys. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. You get to learn all about Casey Armstrong himself, the man, the myth, the legend. Everything you want to know is in that first chapter. So, guys, go to simplyamazingbook.com. Guys, I'm Mike Biddleman, and we'll see you later.
Hey guys, are you tired of bad news? When was the last time you felt really inspired? I'm Casey Armstrong. I'm the owner of the world's most amazing people radio. You